A few years ago, there was some hubbub about whether or not games should aspire to tell stories, seeing as how lots of games fail to deliver as thoroughly crafted narratives as stage, page, or screen. This is dumb, obviously, for an infinite multitude of reasons that would require a separate video just to scratch the surface of. But lately, for the past 6 months, I've been playing a lot of Hades, and it's got me thinking about the way games, and Hades in particular, can not only tell great stories, but tell stories in a way that no other medium can. Also, Hades is just so f***ing good. Hades is the fourth game from beloved indie game studio Supergiant Games, known for their isometric action games with an emphasis on detailed worlds and excellent music. Supergiant has never let themselves get complacent, exploring totally new mechanics and universes with each new game. Their first game, Bastion, was an action game that saw you move from world to world in a semi-linear apocalyptic fantasy story. Their second, Transistor, a personal favorite of mine, was a tactical sci-fi game that saw you pause combat to plan out different attack strategies before a single blow was landed. And their third, of course, was a dark fantasy basketball tournament. Hades is an action roguelike, a genre meaning that each time you die, you return to the beginning and have to fight your way back as far as you can in what's called a run. Supergiant's fresh take on this formula is that characters are aware that you are dying over and over again. The game is set in the mythic Greek underworld and follows Prince Zagreus, son of the eponymous god of death, as he attempts to flee his father's domain and make it to the surface world for what are at first mysterious reasons. Each time the prince dies, he is returned to the house of Hades, where he has little chats with the other denizens of the underworld, such as his adopted brothers, mother, an adorable maid gorgon named Dusa, and others of mythological note. The part I want to talk about in this video is why the format of Hades lends itself to a story that is best told in video game form. Most stories, nearly all of them really, are linear. You start at page 1 and then move on to page 2 and so on and so forth. This is true of books, movies, plays, and even songs. What games can do that no other medium can is play with the order and pacing of a story with input from the audience. Games can play with repetition in a way that no other medium can do, and can engender empathy in unique and clever ways that break down the typical barriers between audience and art. Most games, however, don't even try. Even good stories in games just try to replicate the feelings great movies give us, with sweeping scores and carefully choreographed sequences designed to get the blood pumping or the tears flowing. But most of these games could be a movie. Replace that metaphor-rich combat with a tightly structured fight scene, and you're just a hair away from cinematic gold. Sure, you would not get the feelings of the character thrust on you through that gameplay, but the story could be told, and could be told effectively. Then there are games that use gameplay as a service to the story. Games like Gone Home, or What Remains of Edith Finch, use simple mechanical metaphors to bring you into an otherwise simple story. Pushing a stick forward to move through a creepy old house gives you a better sense of the space than just watching someone walk across the screen. There's nothing wrong with a beautiful tracking shot, but making the choice to walk down that hallway, peek around that corner, is a valuable tool in the right hands that can bring a story to life like no other medium. I'm not even going to talk about Nier Automata right now. I have another video that you can watch if you want to know what I think about Nier Automata. It's very funny and good, and you should watch it. Thank you very much for your time. Then there's Hades, a game that links its central gameplay loop, fighting, struggling, failing, dying, and of course trying again, to its central story and themes. Hades is a game about escape, obviously. That when you die it says there is no escape. It's about escaping the underworld, the past, escaping your family, escaping yourself. The prince fights many capable foes in his attempts to reach the surface. Combat is frantic and requires a lot of skill, as each new area of the game introduces new, complex problems to solve. From hot rivers of lava that eat at your health, to exalted warriors who turn into little ghosts when they die, forcing you to take them out a second time before they can rearm. There's so much going on, and so many flashing colors and varied enemies, that at first I had no idea how I I, or anyone for that matter, was even supposed to make it through a single run. There are roadblocks around every corner, and each time you hit one, like a tough encounter or a boss you just can't beat, the game brings it up to you. Hypnos, the god of sleep, will lovingly tease you if you get killed by the same thing over and over. Nyx and the Olympians offer encouragement, and your father, Lord Hades, will straight up mock you cause he's an Pushing through these roadblocks felt like I'd actually escaped something. The first time I beat Megara, the Fury boss of the first stage, I honestly felt like I'd made it somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, like ditching school or taking a sick day to go on vacation, two things I've never done. I was so excited that I barely noticed the skeleton just waiting to impale me and send me back to Father's crossed arms. Also, each time you die, you get a new chance to talk with some of the characters that call this place home, and get little glimpses at the stories happening around you. Dusa is overworked, Hypnos misses his brother Thanatos, Megara has a hard time connecting with her sisters. There's honestly not that much that happens in a single visit. Each conversation lasts only about 1 or maybe 2 paragraphs. Anything longer than that is quite rare and usually used for impact. Hello everyone, I took a break from writing the script. Not recording, I'm doing all of that in one session. But the me in the past took a break from writing the script and listened to a recent episode of Jim Sterling and Laura Kate Dale's podcast, The Jimquisition, entitled Hades is Good, in which Jim mentions how sparse and minimal each system of the game actually is. For example, you deepen your relationship with the characters by giving them bottles of nectar. Doing so gives you a nice little dialogue sequence and opens up new dialogue later on, but it's just nectar. There are no character-specific gifts, no grand meaningful gestures, at least not for a while. You just hand over a bottle of immortal booze, basically, and then whoever it is likes you more. Kind of. It's absurd to the point that some characters even balk at or reference how many bottles of the stuff you've jammed into their hands. But it's the quality that the writing team takes with every small step, and the repetition of the game that makes it click. I may only spend a few seconds with each character per run, but over time those seconds added up. The more you come back... It's supposed to say the more I come back, but I goofed it on the script. Let's take that again, shall we? The more I came back, the deeper a connection I formed with this crew of mutts and mystics. The repetition isn't just handled well, it's the point. Every run is meant to represent the passage of time. The nature of it being a video game means that you're supposed to be playing it over the course of multiple days or weeks or even months. A movie can attempt to make you imagine time passing, often very effectively. A book can span lifetimes over a handful of pages, but only a game can replicate change in real time. Only a game can form familiarity on a muscular level, seeing how it's the only medium that requires use of your muscles on a regular basis. It's not just Prince Zagreus that's getting more familiar with the world. It's the player also. The longer you play, the more comfortable the world becomes. You build inside jokes with bone hydras, develop relationships with your antagonists and companions alike. And that familiarity isn't just implied in a montage or on text on a screen. It's lived. There's an old adage in film: show, don't tell. Use the medium's strengths to tell a story. Well, in games, there's a second adage: do, don't show. That is why we need to keep telling stories in games. There are already experiences in games that make me feel, that make me care, that make me rethink aspects of my life. Hades is just a recent example in a long line of games that draw you into a story in a unique way. It also just so happens to be one of the best. Thanks for watching! If you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel. I don't put out a ton of videos, so it shouldn't be too annoying. Anyway, it would really help me out. Next time, I couldn't help but notice that I was not in that video nary a moment. Oh, yeah, I kinda wanted this to be like a legit piece on a game I really liked. You understand. Oh, yes, I understand. Tried to be a little serious here, not goof around too much. I get that. I definitely didn't have a little box with a tiny minotaur inside that I whipped up in the lab to spice up the video. Is that what's in the box behind you? No, dear heavens, no. Where do you get these kinds of ideas? The box is mooing, and it says small minotaur storage on the side. Well, does it now? Suppose I'll just be on my way and... Oh dear, it's loose. I just wanted one normal video. Just once for the studio not to get wrecked by some monster bull or badger or time yeti. Is that too much to ask?
Jeez, you just had to talk to me, dude. It's not like a big deal. I can stay in the box, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't realize you were sapient.
Yeah, well, I guess you didn't realize a lot of things.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem, dude.
So did the video just end now?